Some of the most prescribed medicines for seniors are also the most dangerous, and people are never really warned. But if you knew the risks, you might never touch them again. Hi, I'm Dr. Eric Westman, and welcome to my channel where I review and debunk nutritional misinformation online. In this video, we're going to hear from Dr. Sunil Dan. He's an internist who has a large following online, and I'm an internist as well, an obesity medicine specialist, so I'm familiar with these medicines he's going to talk about. Be sure to wait till the end until you get my final thoughts.
I have seen countless problems because of these medications, as I'm sure a lot of doctors have. This is a diuretic medication used for blood pressure. In the United Kingdom, the equivalent is benadryl or benadryl. Why do I not like this medication? Well, I've seen many issues with dehydration, and the most common one is low potassium, hypokalemia. And a very common scenario I see as a hospital doctor, somebody over the age of 65 would have been getting sick for a week or two. They keep taking the hydrochlorothiazide, they get more and more dehydrated, their potassium keeps dropping. And then when we check it in the emergency room, the potassium is often under 3. It could be 2.9, 2.8, or even lower. And the minimum level, which we consider to be normal, is 3.5.
Yeah, so if you have high blood pressure and you go to a doctor, they're supposed to wait on several occasions to diagnose high blood pressure. Unless it's really high, we're instructed to take a measurement at the office, counsel people to change their lifestyle, and have them come back typically 3 months later, maybe another 3 months. You wouldn't make a rush to judgment of this is high blood pressure, we need to put this person on medicine forever. So the hydrochlorothiazide is one of the most commonly prescribed blood pressure medicines because it's so inexpensive. And so a lot of doctors will just reach for hydrochlorothiazide as the first treatment rather than say, try lifestyle first. So, of course, if you've watched my channel, I like to use lifestyle as the first treatment. And so I use an effective or prescription strength lifestyle so that I don't have to prescribe someone high blood pressure medicine and I can just have them change their lifestyle and the blood pressure will come down, especially if they have weight to lose. If I'm using keto, low-carb, carnivore diet in someone who has high blood pressure, often I can take them, most commonly I can take them off the medication as time goes on. So my preference is to not use any medicine at all, and hydrochlorothiazide is so common, and hypokalemia, we've all seen it in our office. It's not rare, and yes, it can cause arrhythmias and lead you to hospitalization because you feel so weak. So this is a good call out for if you're taking hydrochlorothiazide, make a lifestyle change instead and lower the blood pressure without medication.
So low potassium dehydration, very common. I am not a fan of this medication. And even when I've seen people have their labs checked as an outpatient, when they're on this medication, potassium often runs low and they are prescribed a potassium supplement or told to eat more foods with potassium. But there are so many other blood pressure medications out there which I would pick over hydrochlorothiazide.
Yeah, and about the foods containing potassium, there's a joke I have that most doctors know that bananas have potassium. So they'll tell you to have bananas, but on a low-carb diet, I don't want you to have a banana. So there's potassium in the vegetables and the greens, plus I don't want you to be on the medicine in the first place.
Gabapentin. This medication, also known as Neurontin, is commonly prescribed for nerve pain. And the issue that I have with this medication, I can't tell you the number of times that I've seen people get admitted to hospital and they're on these whopping doses of gabapentin, like hundreds of milligrams, like 600, 900 milligrams of gabapentin multiple times a day, twice, 3 times a day. The starting dose is usually something like 100 milligrams 2 or 3 times a day. And as with any medication or many medications, there is the issue of dependence. You keep needing to increase the medication. And the issue that I find is drowsiness. And lots of times when people get admitted to hospital, they're already sick and drowsy. and we cut way back on this medication, and they wake up and their loved one will say, well, we haven't seen mom or dad so awake in a long time. What's been going on? And I say, well, we've cut back on the gabapentin. So be very careful with that. Remember, being drowsy, especially over the age of 65, will result in many other potential adverse consequences, including fainting, falling, etc. But I'm not a fan of it. I am not saying again that it's never indicated. Of course, it does help to relieve pain, but like with a lot of medications, including narcotics, that comes at the expense of over sedation potentially.
Yeah, so it's kind of a common sense, or it's a given that medicines can have more side effects in people who are older, so that we always look for medication side effects in people who come in. Gabapentin is one that I see frequently used for pain, and while it may be helpful, it may also make you gain weight. So from the obesity medicine perspective, I screen for medicines that may cause weight gain, and gabapentin is one of them. And not that you can't use it, it's just that that helps you understand why the weight has gone up and you haven't changed anything else.
I want to thank our friends at Element for sponsoring today's video. Element has a great mixture of sodium, potassium, and magnesium, everything you need on a keto diet. But specifically, this raw, unflavored version, which is labeled with a blue teal-colored banner. This teal-colored, raw, unflavored version does not contain stevia, sugar, or any additives except a science-backed mix of 3 electrolytes our bodies need in quantities that have been already measured out for you. This is great for a keto diet, but most important thing is that it tastes great. As you know, electrolytes are really important, especially if you're following a keto or a carnivore diet. Get a free 8-count sample pack of Element's most popular drink mix flavors with any purchase. That's a great way to try it out and to share Element with a friend. Get yours at drinklmnt.com/Eric Westman. This offer is only available at my link, drinklmnt.com/Eric Westman. You'll find that in the description below. Thank you, Element, for sponsoring this video.
Number 3, high-dose anti-inflammatory medications, what we call NSAIDs, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. So a very mild example, I can call it mild, you can buy it over the counter, would be ibuprofen. And there are other much stronger anti-inflammatory medications, NSAIDs, like naproxen, diclofenac. And a common issue that I see is somebody might be taking this medication for, let's give an example, arthritis, and it's helping with the inflammation. I would prefer more natural ways to combat inflammation, but nevertheless, this medication will suppress inflammation. And people who are on this medication for a long time, unfortunately, it can cause complications, including eating away at the stomach. It's a fairly common scenario we see that somebody will be admitted to hospital with some gastric issues, or maybe they're even vomiting up blood, and we take their history and they've been on a high-dose non-steroidal anti-inflammatory for some time for combating a condition like arthritis, and then we find a stomach ulcer when an endoscopy is performed. Another potential adverse consequence would be renal impairment, so kidney dysfunction. So like with all of these medications, I'm not saying they're never indicated, but be very mindful about doses of these, because it's far too common that I see high doses result in a big problem in somebody over the age of 65.
Yeah, and pain medicines can be very helpful, and especially with chronic pain. But one place where I was invited to speak through the years, a doctor meeting, was the interventional pain specialists. So being a keto doctor, I help people lose weight, reverse diabetes, and it was kind of surprising for me to be invited to speak at the interventional pain practitioner meeting. But the reason is that a lot of these pain doctors are using the keto diet to help with chronic pain and to help people get off opioid medications. It makes sense because carbohydrates, the foods that you don't eat on a keto diet, are pro-inflammatory. So if you're on medications for chronic pain and you haven't learned about a keto diet or low carb or low inflammatory type of diet, you may find that you get benefit from changing the diet, not just for the weight and diabetes reversal, but also for the chronic pain. Let me know in the notes below if you had what we call a non-scale victory of chronic pain, joint pain improvement from changing the diet.
Okay, number 4, flexeril, chemical name cyclobenzaprine. This is a medication for muscle spasms, and it's fairly common, I would say, in the United States. I haven't seen it used much in the United Kingdom. Maybe there's an equivalent, a different name for it, or an equivalent medication. But in the United States, I have seen this medication cause oversedation again. I've seen this many, many times. And in people over the age of 65, I've seen cases where people have fallen, and then it's been very obvious that they have been recently prescribed flexeril, and it will be confirmed by their family that they've been more sedated on this medication. That's a story that I've seen a few times. So flexeril, cyclobenzaprine, for a condition like muscle spasms. Remember, muscle spasms often have other causes. If a doctor was actually thinking about root causes rather than prescribing a medication, maybe they would look into other things like low magnesium. Often a magnesium supplement will also help with conditions including muscle spasms.
I see flexeril being used for chronic muscle pain, fibromyalgia, things like that. And remember that an effective prescription strength diet change, like a keto diet, can improve the muscle pain and even fibromyalgia pain without flexeril. So if you're on flexeril, consider changing it over to lifestyle instead of the drug treatment.
Number 5, Benadryl. Chemical name diphenhydramine. You've all heard of Benadryl, most commonly prescribed for conditions including itching or a rash, and it is an antihistamine medication. It is a sedating antihistamine medication. I've taken it occasionally, and I've noticed that I feel very tired after I take it. So you can imagine the effect it would have on somebody who's, say, in their 70s or 80s, again, causing oversedation. But if itching or rash is a problem, definitely go for a non-sedating antihistamine. There are a few of those as well. Unfortunately, Benadryl is a sedating antihistamine. So those 5 drugs then are my least favorite in anybody over the age of 65 based on my own experiences as a doctor. Number 1, hydrochlorothiazide. Number 2, gabapentin. Number 3, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, including ibuprofen, naproxen, diclofenac. Number 4, flexeril, which is cyclobenzaprine. And number 5, Benadryl, diphenhydramine. It's so important with each passing year that anybody takes more care about what they put into their body. Make sure that any prescription you get, the side effects are not outweighing the benefits, and explore alternatives. Hopefully you have a good doctor that you can sit down with. I know how difficult it is to find good doctors out there who are more holistic.
Well, I can think of one group, and that's the Society of Metabolic Health Practitioners. You can look at the directory at the smhp.org and see practitioners who think this way. They're not always MDs. The Obesity Medicine Association is another group of doctors who are taught about obesity and diabetes and using lifestyle, and also a lot of GLP-1s now, I'm afraid, for good or better or for worse. But I would just like to editorialize to Dr. Dan's, if you're having extra weight or worried about and having weight gain, then you also want to consider medicines like nasal sprays that have steroids in them, like Flonase nasal spray. Insulin can make you gain weight. Prednisone can, or any other steroid, even steroid injections, can make you gain weight. And so these are the medicines we screen for, gabapentin as well, to make sure that if we can change them to something that doesn't cause weight gain, we do, or at least just reassure people that, you haven't gained weight from some metabolic reason. It was actually from the medications. So I like Dr. Dan's video, and the worry here about medications being too strong, too many side effects. They're amplified in older people is a recurring theme. So beware for you or your loved one about these medication side effects. I hope you liked this video. If you like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell. Look for new content on Wednesdays and Fridays.
If you enjoyed this video, consider joining our YouTube membership for early access and exclusive live Q&As with me. just click the Join button below or support us with a PayPal in the description.